Thank you very much, Ian. Good morning, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, and a special acknowledgement today to our past and present servicemen and women, and certainly in keeping with my message today, a special welcome to all the young people in attendance. As mentioned, it's been 106 years since the guns fell silent on the Western Front, and of course Remembrance Day is just another opportunity for us to in our calendar to embrace our Anzac past. However, I'd like today to take a few moments, if I could, to talk about using the positive ideals of that Anzac legacy to celebrate our future. Because as we know, it's for our future that over 100,000 Australians gave their lives. I've been a humble classroom teacher now all my professional life, so when I talk about the future, of course I'm talking about young people and the role that they play in our Anzac story. Now, in the past, young people helped to create it. And in our world today and in the future, it's going to be young people who will be the ones to continue to tell it. In the military cemetery in the beautiful Polygon Wood in Belgium lies Private Leslie McMurdo, 31st Battalion. The epitaph on his headstone, written by his parents, reads, "Gave his life to bring in a wounded comrade, forever mourned." Now, records indicate that on the 26th of September 1917, Leslie ran out from the safety of his trench to rescue a mate who was lying wounded in no man's land. Just as he began to lift him up, Leslie was shot dead by a sniper. He was brave, he was loyal, he displayed all the traits that we associate with the Anzac legend. And he was just 17 years old. Same age as students I've taught, that I've taken on Anzac tours, and the same age as some of the young people here today. So the stories of young Australians paying the ultimate sacrifice in war, they're not uncommon across all wars we've fought in. So they are definitely part of the story. But what about young people today? Those who thankfully haven't been to war. As mentioned, ladies and gentlemen, I've been on an unbelievable journey with our school's Anzac project over the last 25 years, and I've seen firsthand how young people respond to our Anzac heritage. I've been on the battlefields and in the cemeteries with teenagers, and I can tell you now that when we do include them in this unbelievable story, we get fantastic responses. Mind you, they are responses you can only get from young people. I remember on our 2012 tour, we're at Lone Pine Cemetery at Gallipoli, and I noticed one of the students had been sitting in the front of a couple of graves for a long time. When she eventually moved away, I went over to the headstones just to have a look. And there, buried side by side, were Privates Geoffrey Fleming and David Smith, both from New South Wales. Then I realised why she'd been sitting there. Geoffrey was 16 and David was 17. Boys buried next to each other. Then I noticed something else. I noticed a red frog lolly sitting in between the graves, which piqued my interest. So I went over to the girl and I said, "Hey Stace," I said, those graves over there." "Oh," she said, "Sir, did you see the ages?" I said, "Yeah, I did." I said, "Did you put the red frog down there?" And she said, "Oh yeah, yes sir, I did." She said, "Sir," she said, "all my male friends back at school, as you know, they're all 16 and 17 years old. And we sit around and we laugh and we joke." And she said, "I brought a heap of lollies with me." And she said, "But I only had one red frog left." So she said, "They've got to share it." So the connection she made was the friend she had at home and the friends she just made there, those young guys with a red frog, which I think is very, very cute. If we fast forward to late June last year in our final school Anzac tour, we were leaving Gallipoli after 5 days of visiting. We're heading off to France and Belgium. We'd gone back to Anzac Cove and the beautiful Ari Banu Cemetery, which lies just north of the cove. Went back there for one last visit. From a planning point of view, it was a big mistake. We're on a time limit. We had to catch a ferry back to our accommodation. And once they went down onto the beach into that cemetery, folks, we could not get them out. They wouldn't leave. They were so connected. So eventually we herded them, and as we were going out, I noticed there was one student sitting at a grave, just as a prior story. So I went over to get her, and I'll never forget the next few moments. I said to her, "Kayla, it's time to go." And she looked up at me. Her eyes were full of tears, and there were tears rolling down her cheeks. And she looked into my eyes, and she just shook her head. And she said, "Sir, I don't want to live." Then she looked back at the grave. She looked back up at me. She said, "Sir, he died on my birthday." She said, "Now I'm going to have to live 2 lives." So, of course, I gave her a few more minutes, and suffice to say, we did miss the ferry, but we missed it for good reasons, because they were so connected. So I could fill the rest of the day with stories like that, folks, and the anecdotes I've told you today to highlight just how connected young people can become to the story. I remember saying in a speech at the dawn service in 2018, I asked a question, and as you all know, we get so many people at our dawn services now, thousands of them, and I asked this, which I think was a very pertinent question. And I said to the people in attendance on that morning, I said, "I wonder how many people are going to be here at this service in 2118? How many people are going to be under these beautiful trees in 100 years' time?" Now, I don't know the answer to that question, but I know what will determine the answer. And that is how well we educate our younger generations to ensure that they perpetuate the respect of our Anzac heritage. And I need to acknowledge today that the great work that Mackay RSL and the Mackay Regional Council does on Anzac Day, because they include school children. And that, of course, is a recipe for the longevity of the Anzac spirit. So, folks, I've spoken today about young people at Gallipoli, and I'll finish with the reflections of one more student at a war cemetery in France. The last cemetery we visited on our 2004 tour was Etaples Military Cemetery, at 11,000 headstones, 464 of them Australians, actually. As one of the students sat on the hill overlooking the cemetery, she wrote this in her diary. She wrote, "My final thoughts as I watched the silent headstones was that we have to live the life these soldiers gave us. We have to live our lives to the fullest, love our friends and family. It's the least we can do. Live the life these men never got." They're wonderful words from a then 16-year-old, and they highlight once again that young people do get it, and they do care. So, to the young people here this morning, especially those who will contribute to our service, I say good on you. You're the future of the Anzac legacy. And to my fellow oldies, our job is to keep teaching, to keep encouraging, to keep including young people in the story. And I think if we do that, if we continue to do that, then there's a very good chance we'll have bigger Anzac Day crowds under these trees in 100 years' time. Let's hope so. Thank you again, everybody. Have a good day. Thank you.